In a bar in London, 20 men are about to meet 20 women.
First 30 seconds starts now.
It's a speed date, and sparks of attraction are soon flying.
This guy likes you.
But this is no ordinary encounter.
He likes her, right? But it's not reciprocated at all, is it?
These men and women are taking part in a scientific experiment.
All data loaded.
They've all been measured. Their preferences have been explored.
Very pleased with that man.
And their deepest desires revealed.
You're happy with that?
Yep. I'm in love with that. That's perfect.
Now scientists will try to find them a perfect match.
Match found.
And their predictions will be put to the test.
She's smiling warmly and winding him down at the same time. Let that be a lesson to all of us.
But in the game of love, nothing ever goes according to plan.
It was a disaster. It was a bad gig.
I liked him.
There's something
I got
going
him.
There are over 4 million single women in Britain, and Beth Eagland is one of them. Now she's about to try a new way of finding love.
Good morning, Michael Mosley.
Beth, hello.
Come in.
In collaboration with an international team of scientists, we've created a unique matchmaking agency. We've recruited over 100 single men and women to join it. For all of these people, conventional dating has failed. Now they've agreed to put their love lives in the hands of scientists.
I'm meeting loads and loads of false women, loads of women who are surface.
I tend to meet men that kind of like sap me of my strength as I tell them what to do.
I'm unbelievably picky, considering the amount of choice I get, which isn't a lot.
The men that I've tended to attract in the past have been pretty much unreliable.
For the scientists, these lovelorn people are guinea pigs. They present a rare opportunity to test different theories about the nature of attraction and compatibility.
Hello. This is Beth, and I'll leave you together. He's going to be taking some measurements. Good luck, I'll see you later.
Okay, bye for now.
Okay, I will take a facial photograph of you, so...
One theory, held by zoologist Carl Grammer, is that facial similarity is the key to a successful match.
Facial similarity to a male might be a predictor for relationship stability.
So how it has to be similar, or
It has to be similar.
right? Okay. Oh, interesting.
I'm looking for Keanu Reeves, but I'm probably not going to be able to get him, so someone who looks exactly like him.
Somebody who's really outgoing, blonde, busty and beautiful.
My ideal man is someone with an Oxford education and an SW7 postcode.
Glenn Wilson is a psychologist whose CQ test can tell if a couple will be compatible before they've met.
How important to you is sexual exclusiveness?
It's certainly very important.
Mental fidelity?
I think the odd lapse is forgivable.
This one is reciprocated, and both in CQ and facial similarity. Chances are that would be an ideal match.
If the scientists succeed, it will herald a revolution in dating. And no one would welcome this more than Beth Eagland.
Perfect partner, honest, busty, younger and intelligent. Pathetic.
Beth is a successful career woman. She's been single for over a year and is finding it increasingly hard to meet men.
I'm knocking on, almost 33. If I ever want to think about having children, then I have to think about it now. It's just one big vicious circle of going out with, pathetic losers most of the time.
To increase her options, Beth has volunteered to see if the scientists can make her more attractive before she's introduced to anyone. By analysing the geometry of beautiful faces, a plastic surgeon has developed a special mask. This transparency represents a template of perfection. And although Beth's face falls short, a makeup artist can use it to pinpoint the features which need the most help.
Right,
So you can see on here, your mouth is good. And we can just even out the top line so that it's a bit more even. And the only thing that I think is quite obvious from this is the position of your eyes. So what I'm going to do is use toner and highlighter to create the illusion that they're a little bit further apart.
The beauty mask is normally used to inform the decisions made by cosmetic surgeons, but it can also be used in this simple and more cost-effective way.
Turn the mirror over.
Yeah, it's nice because it still looks like me, but I can see exactly what you've done. I think men are going to stop me on the street. No, I look lovely.
Cool, excellent.
Thank you.
Can scientific insights also be used to make men more attractive to women?
Okay.
Peter Kerr has volunteered to find out.
Well, today we're going to talk about Thatcher, so that'll get us started. What else
Peter is a 37-year-old politics lecturer.
Monetarism, that's good. How does that work?
Married in his 20s, he's now divorced and has been single for 2 years.
What do you think women think of you?
The most repeated thing that women say about me is that I'm a really nice guy. But actually that's usually fatal when women say that.
How do you rate yourself physically?
Physically, short, skinny, minging.
What's minging?
What's minging? That'd be the technical word for not very good looking.
Right.
Peter thinks it's his physical appearance that's the problem. But what can he do to improve it?
Okay, can I borrow you for a moment? Thank you. I just want to get an impression of this guy here. This is Peter, okay?
Before he's introduced to anyone, the scientists are going to identify precisely what is turning women off.
What I need from you is your immediate impressions, okay? So what age do you think he is?
40.
40. What do you think he does? If you just meet him in the street, what would you say he did?
I don't know, maybe he works in a shop.
And if a scale of 1 to 10 of attractiveness, if 10 is really sexy and 0 is not at all.
Me personally,
yeah. 0. 0, right.
Peter can't hear what the women are saying until the results are played back to him.
What age?
Maybe 46.
46.
Oh my God.
What sort of job do you think he does?
Maybe a window cleaner.
Fair enough. On the scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is really, really sexy, where would you put him?
-1.
Yeah, really. Would you go on a date with him?
No.
Would you go on a date with him?
I've got a boyfriend, so no. But if I didn't, no.
Oh, sorry.
What's emerged from the experiment is that Peter is perceived to have a low-status job and income. Where most scientific studies suggest women are attracted to men who can provide resources. The next day, a fashion stylist gives Peter a more affluent look.
Good luck.
Confident?
Very anxious. That was a terrifying experience, so I'm not sure what to expect.
Right. Was it more terrifying than yesterday?
Much more terrifying, because I knew this time what was coming, and yesterday's feedback was so negative. I was terrified this morning that that was going to happen again.
In spite of the scientific research, many women claim that money isn't one of their priorities.
I am looking for somebody who's not too bothered by his status in society, not money-driven, not money-driven.
More of a tree hugger than a Porsche driver.
Someone that's not into cars, expensive cars, football, or money.
So will Peter's new look actually make any difference?
What do you think he does for work?
Businessman.
Businessman.
Management or something.
Oh, that's good.
Authority.
Professional.
Okay. How much do you think he earns?
Oh, I think he's earning quite a lot. Quite a bit.
Have a guess.
40,000 plus.
And on a scale of 0 to 10, how attractive do you think he is? Be honest. 4. You give him a 4, okay?
That's 5 up on yesterday.
Yeah.
What do you like about him? You gave him a 6, which is a pretty good score. What?
Overall package is good.
Oh, I like that one. Package.
Yeah.
Quite sexy looking.
Yeah, sexy looking, good.
You behave.
Would you go out on a date with him if he asked you to go out?
I think maybe, yeah.
Would you consider
Depends
it?
where he was going to take me.
Right, okay. Good answer.
Oh, fabulous.
Well, that's
Exactly.
a huge difference from yesterday.
Yeah.
I've quantified some of the numbers here, and it's very, very interesting. In terms of your job, they upgraded you considerably, and that's reflected also in your income. Yesterday, the figure most people typically came up with was 30,000. Today, it was 40,000. So you have gone up by 10,000.
Wow.
And a big difference was how attractive they found you. Your average score yesterday was in fact 3.4. Today you have gone up to 5.8.
Yay. Well done.
A simple insight into female psychology has made all the difference. Now it's Beth's turn to learn how to manipulate male perceptions.
Beth, hello. My name's Adrian Furnham. I'm a psychologist.
Hello.
This is Gok. He's a fashion stylist. Have a seat, please. One of my interests is in the science of female attractiveness, and it's something that a lot of male psychologists are interested in. And what we're going to do today is to try and understand how the science, as it's been done, informs us about how you can dress differently to make yourself more attractive to men.
The scientists have taken Beth's vital statistics, but which aspects of the female figure are actually the most important to men?
What should we work on first?
Well, it's breasts, I think.
On the breasts. Okay, fine.
Is it the breasts?
You like the look of those?
Yeah, definitely.
The legs?
That's right. That's yeah.
Or the bottom?
Yeah, okay, I like that.
To find out, the dating agency has conducted a groundbreaking new study into what men find physically attractive. This software allows the men to manipulate female bodies in any way they like.
We can increase those to a sort of size you'd be happier with.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Full cut.
Yeah.
Right, you're happy with that?
Yep.
With dials to control independently every single body part, each man can create his ideal woman.
No. You like a bit of weight on her. Now, do you like a woman with quite a big bottom? I mean, we can give her the J-Lo bottom.
Let's try that. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Okay. No, you don't like that.
Somewhere in the middle, maybe.
Okay, a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's your ideal woman there, James.
Okay.
This is the first research of its kind, and it's about to provide a unique insight into what men really want.
I'm in love with that. That's perfect.
Well, let's look at the studies. I haven't seen this. It'll be of interest to me as well.
Okay.
Let's have a look at them. Right,
okay.
Look at the difference between those last two. The amazing difference in the breast size and the waist. See how the stomach is changing and the breasts are changing. Gosh.
Well, that's just ridiculous.
Yes.
That's Jordan, isn't it?
That's anatomically unusual.
Absolutely.
Professor Furnham now averages out the differences to create the optimally attractive woman.
Wait, with bated breath.
It is exciting,
here.
isn't it? There she is. Now, what we see from our sample is that they like relatively large breasts. What size do you think she would be?
I don't know.
Gok, what do you think?
I would say she's definitely a 32 on her back, and I think we're looking at a C to a D cup.
And what we know is that the average woman, I think, in this country is a 36B.
But what's most striking is the hourglass figure, the equivalent of 36-inch hips and a 23-inch waist.
Essentially, hip-to-waist ratio is one of the best ways of seeing whether a woman is fertile. It is easier to make babies with somebody with a lower hip-to-waist ratio. And men appear to know this. They appear to find fertile women attractive.
Men like curvy women. I mean, that's what it's showing there for me.
So how does Beth measure up? And what can the fashion stylist do to help her? To find out, Professor Furnham morphs the ideal woman to Beth's measurements.
What you can see quite clearly there is changes in the bust, but very little change in the waist-to-hip ratio, which is not that different from yours. And that's good news.
Oh, yeah.
Using these insights, Gok dresses Beth to manipulate subtly the perception of her figure.
Okay, right then, boys.
Okay.
You ready?
We are.
Okay. Hey, Michael, good to see you.
Thank you. Really nice
Right, okay, Beth, do you want to come on out, my darling? Here we are. Right then.
What this does, optically, when you look at the dress, is this. A simple necklace, it's got quite a lot going on just there. What we do is when we look at Beth, we gain eye contact, then that's just below. So the first thing we want to look at is her chest area.
The belt is meant to accentuate the waist to hip ratio?
Yes. If we didn't have this belt area here, which brought in the waist, I'm going to let go and you should just see dramatically what happens. So the one thing that the guys wanted when we saw the reports was that small waist gone. So simply by just putting on just a stretch of material, it's amazing, isn't it?
That looks to me as if you got very much nearer to the perfect ideal, which is of course so much more attractive.
The makeovers appear to have worked. Meanwhile, a vast amount of data has been processed.
349, okay.
And the scientists are preparing for the next phase of the experiment, to predict mutual attraction.
We're looking at a number of variables and the way that they combine. There is physical attractiveness, there is similarity to oneself, and the CQ that covers a vast array of personality, social attitudes, and personal preferences.
What type of relationship would you prefer?
CQ stands for compatibility quotient. The test has been developed using happily married couples and predicts how well a couple are likely to get on in the long term.
Rather ambitious task we have here, but we would suppose that if a person showed compatibility in all of these areas, then the future would be quite rosy.
The predictions will be tested at a speed date. The scientists have selected 20 men to meet 20 women at an event which will generate 400 encounters. None of these people has any idea who the scientists have matched them with, but they have very clear ideas about what they want.
The woman that I'm looking for is someone who likes to do the household chores, cooking, cleaning, whatever.
Rich, so she can support my expensive lifestyle.
Oh, and she must be interested in sex. Well, she must like sex.
When I was,
I'm looking for somebody who's not necessarily handsome, but is more striking looking. They don't necessarily have to be mega loaded. I'm not worried about that. I'm not materialistic, although obviously I want them to have a decent lifestyle. I think somebody like Richard Branson, he has all those qualities.
As the only woman to have received scientific beauty advice, Beth is in a bullish mood.
Looking as hot as I do, who knows what could happen. There might be a marriage proposal by the end, you don't know.
But will the makeover give her an edge on the competition?
Cheers! Exciting. Looking forward to it? Indeed. Yeah, me too. I'm going to bag a man tonight.
Peter is feeling altogether more apprehensive.
I saw some of the other guys for the speed dating event when they turned up at the measuring day. They all looked younger than me. They all looked much better looking than me and much smoother. So I think I've got absolutely no chance today. I think I'm competing with some quality opposition, but we'll see.
Nice to meet you.
The competition will be even stiffer than he thinks. Among the bachelors are 3 men who specialise in the art of picking up women. They've formed a society to pass on this know-how to other men.
Never underestimate the power of the ugly girl that is next to her. Never! What you get.
Emir is a former city broker.
That's why we have wingmen, you can have the wing commander that is going for the main target, then you have the wingman that is going for whatever, just taking care of everybody else. Then you have the kamikaze fighter that is going for the married girl, the ugly guy, or the boyfriend or something, It's just going to crash and burn, he knows that. You can alternate these kind of things,
These men have been entered into the experiment as a wild card. Will their techniques give them any advantage? As in a conventional speed date, the men and women meet each other for 3 minutes.
Your first 30 seconds starts now.
But there is a twist to the proceedings. Each table has been fitted with a gadget which enables the participants to register their positive or negative feelings by turning a dial. Before the date begins, the men and women have been instructed to sit in silence and rate each other from 0 to 100. Carl Grammer thinks that facial similarity will be decisive.
People are attracted to other people who look like themselves.
Okay, that's it.
If you have a partner who is like yourself, you're probably not getting into trouble with him so often because you have the same ideas, you share the same values, the same attitudes, and so on. And it looks like that people hope that somebody who looks like themselves also shares the same attitudes, values, and so on.
Dr. Grammer illustrates this principle with some well-known couples.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and his wife, two very square faces, almost identical, structured, high cheekbones. These two have the same chin, very round faces, with an almost identical nose. This is the same, very identical mouth. They also have a comparable nose, and the eyes are almost of the same form and color even.
The zoologist believes that there are genetic benefits to inbreeding, and that the men and women with similar faces will find each other the most attractive. Using special software, he has created a facial similarity index for everyone in the agency.
Match found. Match found. Match found.
So will Grant be attracted to Leanne?
Match found.
Gail to Simon? And what about Beth?
Match found.
It turns out that several men have similar faces to her, so Carl Grammer has joined forces with Glenn Wilson to identify her best match.
OK, Carl, shall we look at the faces that are most similar to Beth, and I will lay out the faces that have the highest CQ scores.
Dr. Wilson's compatibility test has identified the men with whom she has the best chance of success.
So is this our problem or theirs?
Beth is a property manager who likes to be in control.
Yeah, OK, well, can you arrange for that then?
OK.
Right, let's go and have a look inside. Hey?
In her previous relationships, she's usually been the dominant partner.
I'm independent and I'm a strong character. And men think that they want that, and they think that's great about me. And that's great when we're dating. You know, they think that's great. But after 3 months down the line or whatever, when it's a serious relationship, they realise that I'm not the kind of person they do want. They want someone who's going to stay at home and not have the strong opinions that they were attracted to in the first place. And that's my personal difficulty. But, and I find that with all men and always have done.
But the scientists have identified 4 men who match Beth facially and psychologically.
How about that? That's a pretty good hit rate, considering we started with 50 people. As far as age and height are concerned, it's ideal if the male is about 5 inches taller than the female, which is about the average height difference, and it's also fairly ideal if he is perhaps 4 or 5 years older than she is. We see that on height, 3 of them are taller, so that this one goes out. And in terms of age, they're all actually younger. The nearest is this one. And his CQ is the highest of them all, so if the chemistry was right, they would get on extremely well together.
By now, Beth has registered first impressions of 8 men, and she's not easily impressed. At last, she meets Dave. Both of them, of course, are completely unaware of the scientist's prediction.
A lot of flirtatious signalling going on there. Well, the knob has gone up a little bit there, so she obviously likes the look of him. And what's he going to do? Yeah, it looks as though he's initially attracted to her as well.
It's a medium attraction, I think.
The same procedure has been used to identify Peter Kerr's best match.
So number 2?
That's a hit, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Beth, Peter has no idea he is facing his one scientific match.
She's a good actress. She's smiling warmly and winding him down at the same time. Let that be a lesson to all of us.
It starts now.
This result is typical of the first impressions.
She's flatlining on him.
But there's still everything to play for as the speed date proper now begins.
Time starts now.
The men and women meet for exactly 3 minutes, after which the men move on to the next table.
Please move round. Please remember to reset your dials.
Afterwards, these forms will be handed in, and the participants will find out if any of their offers have been reciprocated. It's a hit-and-miss approach to finding love.
Wow, this guy likes you. I'm just joking.
But sparks of attraction are soon flying.
So what's your name?
AJ.
Simon. Nice to meet you, AJ. So, tell me about yourself.
Beth was given high scores on first impressions, but in the 3-minute conversations, she takes a very businesslike approach.
So why are you single?
Why am I single? Am I going to get to ask you anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can get me to shut up, you can ask me. Fire in the question.
So why are you here? Why are you here?
Well, I'm over 30 and I'm single, and so my biological clock is ticking.
Right.
And
so you're
yeah, I
here
don't know. I'm not desperate. I'm not desperate. But,
Cracks are showing already there.
it's so good way. So what brings you to speed dating?
It's a long story.
We've got 3 minutes, so shorten it.
Shorten my long story.
Condense your story. So how come you stoop so low at speed dating?
Do you know
What's
why?
your problem? Look, you're a good-looking bloke. You're young.
Slow down a little, actually.
Boy, she grills them, doesn't she?
Are you sure you're with me?
It's clear that some people are better at speed dating than others, and knowing how to flirt certainly helps.
Yeah, can you do pastries and stuff?
Of course.
How about massages?
Always.
Foot massages?
Yes.
Okay, let's say I'm having a really tough day at work.
Okay.
So I come rolling into the door and...
You want to know?
What happens?
I would be naked.
Okay, good start.
Okay.
Well, it's easy to see what her appeal to men might be.
Members of the London Seduction Society are using a confrontational strategy.
So you appear not ever to have a boyfriend just because you can't keep them, or...?
No, I just don't appear to like anyone, really.
Oh, you're a fussy one. Have you tried girls?
Yeah.
We understand the game a bit better in the sense that we know that there is about 10 guys that just before us just said exactly the same thing as you, were talking about their jobs and everything. So I was a bit teasing about my job, and when they started asking about it.
You're
an ass model.
Okay.
Yes, ass modeling is.
That's a good talent, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
And that put them a bit on an edge. So it was a good thing to see them qualify themselves and trying to, oh my god, I need to impress a bit this guy.
It certainly does look as though their strategy is to try and put down the woman, lower her self-esteem relative to them, so that they will come across looking big, impressive and dominant. But in fact, the real key to seduction is to make the other person feel good, not to diminish them.
Yeah, that's the point.
I thought you looked really friendly. I thought you were really friendly. And
Thanks.
I felt like a good mouth ones up.
Thank you. That is really nice. That is so cool.
After a disastrous set of first impressions, Peter's personality is making all the difference.
Ask me 3.
Genre.
Rock.
Right, and Chili Peppers are Foo Fighters. Crucial question.
Foo Fighters.
Really?
By far. I can't
that's
stand the Chili's.
Where's that button?
Oh,
But can he impress his one scientific match, who scored him 0 in the silent encounters?
Very hard to recover from first impressions, so he's got an uphill grind.
Well, basically, I'm a university lecturer.
University lecturer? Wow, in what?
In politics.
Oh my god, respect!
Oh, no.
Respect.
It's not all rock and roll, you know.
No, that's respect. It's politics.
Okay, so he pulled it back a little bit there. She enjoyed the prestige of his occupation and not turned off by his politics yet. Anyway.
His status impressed her.
You're great, you are.
But I wonder what she did with that dial.
Oh, I forgot to swim it on.
Oh, right.
The speed date has nearly run its course. Beth has been unimpressed with almost all of her suitors, and the feeling is mutual. At last she meets Dave. The one man the scientists think is compatible with her.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Beth.
Oh, I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave. So tell me about you.
That
How
sounded
old
like
are
it was
you? You're far too young for me. How old are you?
I'm 31.
Are you? God, you look so young.
How old are you?
I'm older than you.
Yes, you are.
But not
Only joking.
Excuse me.
You don't make jokes like that. Hello, a little bit of action here. He's actually turning up on her.
So how old are you then?
Don't ask a lady that.
32.
32?
Oops, uh-oh. She's put her foot wrong and she's plunged in his estimation, according to the perception analyzer.
Let's get off this age thing.
Okay.
What do you do?
I am a director of a software company.
Okay. Oh, God.
There you go.
Dave originally gave Beth 60. Now he turns the dial down, and so does she.
Thank you. See you later.
The men and women retire to their respective bars, and the data processing team springs into action.
Okay, woman 1035, 23, date, 38, friend, 53, friend.
In a few minutes, everyone will find out who has date matches, who has friendship matches, and who has nothing. Peter has adopted a carpet bombing strategy.
I think I take nearly every box, basically, just to increase my chances. But I'm the type of person I kind of like people when I meet them, so I think that's desperation, basically.
Meanwhile, the women are comparing notes.
He was very stylish. He was wearing a jacket and events manager. Yeah, he was gorgeous.
He was an arse.
He knew it.
I'm sorry, darling. He was an arse.
Yes.
The matches have been counted and the results are in. It's the moment of truth for all concerned.
So guys, this is your mutual matches.
Hey.
Everyone receives an envelope containing photographs of successful date matches. Or news that they don't have any. Beth made an offer on just one man. But unfortunately, he's chosen someone else.
Fair enough. I liked him.
Oh, there's something
I got him.
Has Peter's strategy been any more successful?
Result? She was lovely, yeah. Yeah, I liked her a lot. I can't remember her name, which is hideous, but she was Tracy. I bet everyone's got Tracy, though. That's what happened. Yeah, he's got Tracy, he's got Tracy.
We've all got the same women.
Clearly, for two of the girls, carpet bombing has worked. But it's AJ who's the winner with a total of 10 dates.
Oh well, never mind. Share and share alike.
My tip is to listen to guys and compliment them, because there's always something good about a guy, normally.
Yes, I'll be the jigger dancer.
There's always something.
Oh, bollocks to that. Why should we do that?
You've got 3 minutes. That's all you've got. 3 minutes.
Don't give
You have to give him something for 3 minutes.
They should kiss our fucking feet.
So how successful were the 3 members of the London Seduction Society?
Hi. The last guy that I saw, I seriously have a pathological hatred for him. Never in a million years would I go out with him. I wouldn't care if he put me as a 0 on his rating. If me and him were the last people alive, there is no way I would go there. The guy is a chauvinist arsehole who loves himself.
Nice to meet you.
Have their techniques worked on anyone?
I didn't take many girls, I suppose. That's already started like a bit of a problem. So, you know, you already reduced your number of matches. It'd be interesting to see how many girls in all ticked me at the end of the day.
Man 2013.
Emir received 1 offer of a date. He was the only one of the seducers to have done so.
14. Neither.
Well, their results are pathetic. Out of about 60 encounters, they get about 1 offer, and that's no great surprise, the way they're messing about there.
But it's the moment of reckoning for the scientists themselves. Peter has been handed an envelope identifying his predicted match.
And the winner is... Oh, and she was my favourite as well, that one. But she picked everybody, apparently.
Carl Grammer thought that facial similarity would predict sexual attraction. Sarah was Peter's best match facially and for personality.
Now we have reciprocation.
So we're really onto something.
Unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
I thought he seemed a really, really nice guy, but I don't think I was initially attracted to him. And for me, I need to have physical attraction to be with someone.
This reaction was shared by all of the couples who were informed of their face match.
You might possibly think he was your brother.
Yeah.
It'd be quite weird for you to
I
date
don't want
him.
to date my brother, that's the thing.
You don't want to date him.
No.
No, you can do better than that. Yeah, no, I see you with a tall, dark guy.
Yes.
In the beginning, we thought on the basis that people who are married are looking alike, that sameness or likeness would predict sexual attraction. This was apparently not the case in the data. Actually, the opposite came around, that dissimilar people make the dates together. So we have to revise our theory.
This facial prediction has failed spectacularly. But first impressions were decisive. The perception analyzers show that men and women who decided to date had made up their minds within seconds.
Come on, grapple with it.
With few exceptions, the 3-minute conversation made no difference at all. Clearly, looks are all important. But it's not the face, it's the body that counts.
In terms of physical attractiveness, there were two very important physical factors that made all the difference. They were different for men than for women. For men, the factor that blew all the others out of the water was waist-to-hip ratio.
Waist-to-hip ratio is the size of the waist in relation to the hips, and is a reliable indicator of fertility.
Well, let's go for the curvaceous.
On the software, the men had created women with hourglass figures, a caricature of the female form. And at the speed date, women whose figures most closely resembled this ideal got the most offers of dates. So how much did male physique matter to women?
So this is his muscle.
To about there, yeah, I think, yeah, quite like
to about there. Yeah.
The women also went to considerable lengths to specify their ideal body types.
It's a little bit smaller. Well, actually, no, a bit bigger.
That's nice. So, happy?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay.
That's nice.
Right.
And this is what they found optimally attractive.
Let's have a look.
But at the speed date, there was no relationship between this figure and the body shapes of the most popular men.
For women, it was height. Women wanted tall men. They were less interested in all the other possibilities of male shape. It was height that was the most important physical attractiveness feature for men.
The two most popular men, both over 5'11", got 30 offers of dates between them.
See you later. Tall is good. Tall is healthy. Tall is successful. So don't bother about going to the gym. Don't bother about putting on new flashy clothes. Be tall.
With the speed date over, the men now come to the women's bar to meet them informally.
Do you not like those two?
The experiment has shown that attraction is driven by physical attributes, which have little to do with similarity or compatibility.
Oh, I want to shake him. This isn't your type.
He's got a shirt and a pinstripe.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like him as a person.
He's not your type.
Well, I would shake him.
Yeah, me too.
I reckon we have a little snog, believe it or not.
But there is one scientist who did succeed in predicting facial attraction.
Here we are concerned with your facial preferences for male faces. And
Dr. Fink's morphing device replicates the effect of sex hormones in the face, moving from extreme female to extreme male. Everyone in the agency was asked to select the most sexually attractive face.
So there.
Right, okay, this is frame number 287.
I think this face tells me that he's not good looking enough to be unapproachable,
Yeah.
but he is good looking, so I would approach him.
Right. This kind of face you have selected is rather the so-called good father face. Someone who is bringing resources to your children. Rather a long-term mate and not a short-term mate.
Then, everyone's face was matched to the face morph and given a masculinity or femininity rating. Beth was matched to frame 1096. What Dr. Fink found was a clear attraction of opposites. Males with very masculine faces preferred females with very feminine faces, and vice versa.
Are we going to kiss pretty soon? Yeah.
When we have the drink?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You won't be able to say no.
Really?
Yeah.
Simon and AJ are an obvious example. Sex hormones have pushed their faces in very different directions. But the morphing device also predicted attraction between another couple.
Match found.
Beth and Dave matched for facial similarity. But unlike most similar couples, they also had reciprocal preferences according to the face morph.
Okay, I have two faces here. One is Beth and the other one is Dave. It's going to be interesting to look at her preferences. When I look at the frame numbers, this was quite closely together. This was 287 and 255. So I do think that there is a great chance that she will find him sexually attractive. When I compare her face with regard to her femininity, she has been given the number 1096. What he likes is 1098. So I would say, just from the femininity scores, this is exactly his woman. And I think there is a chance for him to get her. I do really think so, yeah.
By now, everyone has been informed of the scientific predictions, and Beth and Dave are discussing theirs.
In the compatibility ratings, we're 127. A married couple, on average, is 116. So we match scientifically, facially and mentally.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm suggesting we elope and just try it out.
Okay.
I mean, I thought you were an arse, and I did write that on my paper. But now I've spoken to you again, you're actually quite nice. I mean, I think you're attractive, and I find you attractive.
Well, I think I was quite right with my prediction. I'm not only surprised, I'm really happy. I think they should pay me a lot of money, yeah?
But I'm an arse.
You're not an arse. I'm retracting my statement. Look, this is why we're compatible, because we're having an argument like we're married.
It's 2 weeks after the experiment, and Peter is preparing for a date, but not with Tracy.
Well, it turns out I got 2 matches that night, but on the night I thought I only had 1. Later I found out that there was actually a clerical error, and Leanne had matched me, and I had matched her, and Leanne's my girl for this evening.
At the speed date, he wasn't Leanne's top choice. She's only agreed to meet up because her favourite, Steve, is dating someone else.
My hobby is stand-up comedy.
It's a hobby?
Yes, a hobby.
I think that's really, really amazing to be able to do that. I'm really into comedy. I always go to stand-up.
It's good fun, actually. And everybody shakes your hand and they'll come
Yeah, completely. I've been a handshaker in my time.
And it's great fun.
It's clear that Peter and Leanne have lots in common.
I'm going to write it down later.
I liked him, and we've been having a good old chat about what he does and what I do, and I think that he and I, regardless of anything that happens, I think we could be friends, and that's just the way I feel.
For Peter, the scientists have failed. But several other couples from the dating agency have also had follow-up dates, and there's been no shortage of sexual chemistry.
Well, this is interesting. We've got some couples here who are known to have ended up kissing after the speed date.
But have there been any enduring relationships?
The second time I saw her, sort of realised that no, it's not, it's no, basically.
I really don't know what went wrong. I'd like to know.
She's a lovely girl, but I just think we would really run out of things or common points of interest.
But at the last minute, she had a meeting, a work commitment that she couldn't get out of.
I thought he was too young for me.
It just didn't work. Just didn't work. That's all I can say.
What we know from this study, in fact all our experience, is that the immediate chemical attraction is of priority for most people. They're not necessarily interested in their CQ scores with other people at all. That's way too far in the future for them even to consider. But it's a little bit like taking out pension plans. Maybe it's something you ought to think about, because the long term does matter.
Unlike the others, Beth came away from the speed date empty-handed. But she and Dave were intrigued enough by their scientific match to arrange to meet for dinner and give the dating agency another chance.
I did give him a hard time at the speed dating, but when I got to speak to him afterwards, I realised that he was actually quite a nice chap and we had a really good laugh. I'd be interested to see how he feels, really, because I think he probably thinks I'm a bit of a bitch. I'm surprised he's even turning up. But, yeah, let's see.
Oh, hello. How are you?
How's it going?
Very well. Very good.
Nice to see you again.
Oh, French thing.
If Beth and Dave hit it off, it will be the scientists' one successful match.
On the CQ test, they shared identical answers on at least 50% of the questions. There was a slight tendency for her to be higher in libido or sexuality, which might suggest that she would make the play in this situation.
And what would you like, my dear?
Can I have the lobster served extra cruel? Can you poke his eyes out before you kill it? Come on, you must be able to do that.
He wants to give it a good scene, too.
Yeah.
She is so different in these clips that I barely recognised her, as a matter of fact. She's no longer putting the heat on the guy and asking him to give an account of himself, and she's evaluating his humour in a completely different way.
The date went well enough for Beth and Dave to meet up again, a week later.
I said, you know, will there be something between us? Where do you see that this is, you know, what is the purpose of this? And he said that it wouldn't be going any further. There wouldn't be a relationship because he found me attractive, but there was not going to be anything further.
The way she spoke reminded me of a member of my family. I grew up years and years ago. And that the association was too strong for me to find her attractive, I guess. Silly thing, really.
Well, yes, he wasn't interested in a relationship, but I more than got the impression that if I wanted to go home with him, then that would have been okay. But that's guys for you. What do I expect?
The world's first scientific dating agency has ended in failure. These scientists hoped that their combined efforts could achieve a revolution in dating. But not one relationship has been forthcoming. Could it ever have succeeded?
We know that many of the people who saw each other haven't really liked each other and they haven't maintained a long-term relationship. So the question is why? And the answer, I think, lies in the fact of too many variables. And I think they are idiosyncratic and they come often from early childhood. And they have a very powerful impact early on in the relationship. And so we've got a lot out of this study. There'll be a lot of scientific papers with this wonderful database we have. But to say that the ability to design a scientific dating agency is just around the corner is, I'm afraid, not true.
As 100 men and women return to conventional dating, at least some of them are in a positive frame of mind.
OK, thank you very much. Yes, now I do politics jokes. Here's the thing, right? Do you know that more people voted in the last in Big Brother than voted in the last election? Do you know that? At the speed dating event, I didn't expect to get any matches, and I was really pleased that I actually got 2. And a date came out of it, and that gave me a bit of, you know, confidence. I mean, if I'd come away without any matches and without any date, I would have been, you know, I would have been feeling pretty bad. But 2 out of 20, I reckon, is a good ratio. And I actually feel quite confident coming out of this, and I know a bit more about myself.
I think science has shown me that I don't need to change. I think that's one of the good things that's come out of it.
Oh my God.
If you come back to me and say, Beth, you're a washout, then fine, I'd start thinking there's something seriously wrong and I need to go and see some kind of shrink. But as I have been matched, then no, I don't think it's necessary to change. And I think that you can compromise with somebody in a relationship, but not change, no.